Hello, everybody. We are talking about food and feeding a family and all that that entails. And it's a lot. It's a whole lot of work. If you think about it, the meal that you put on the table is actually the end product of everything that came before it, right? So the way that you organize your kitchen, the way you stock your home, the way you plan to shop, the way you grocery shop, what you do with all of that food when you get it home. And then begins the meal planning and the meal preparation, and then is the meal that you put on the table. And that's actually not the last step. Then you get to clean it all up and start over again. So I want to be holistic in the way that I think about food because it feels like a lot, because it actually is a lot. And I don't want it to just happen to me every day. One person eats 21 meals a week. So we need to come up with a plan. A while back, I started almost resenting my children and my husband because they wanted to eat 3 times a day. And I don't know, felt like running away when I realized I was going to have to churn out meals like a cafeteria lunch lady. I mean, that's what it felt like to me. And I don't want to slog through this thing forever. Do you? While it's counterintuitive to work harder at something that we're dreading, right? We often want to put space between us and the thing that we're dreading. While it's counterintuitive to work harder at something you're not enjoying, it is critical. It really is the key. Run toward the duty that you're dreading. Run toward the duty that you're dreading. Spend as much time as you need to now to become highly organized with the way your kitchen is set up and planned, with the way that you shop, how you plan your menu, et cetera, et cetera. Spend as much time as you need to now to become highly organized, and then you will have a system that functions for you. And you will get sick of hearing me say this, a system that functions for you, but it really is key. You can do almost anything if you have a good system. I cook 36 meals a day in my small little kitchen that I'm about to show you for 12 people. But even if you're only cooking for 1 or for 4, don't you want to be able to do it relatively effortlessly and almost without thinking because you've already thought of all the details? So all of those areas that we talked about that I just mentioned, we will talk about how you organize your kitchen, how you stock your home, how you plan to go to the store, how you go to the store, et cetera, et cetera. The first thing we will talk about is how you organize your kitchen. And the areas that I'm about to show you, I have done these areas in every home that we've lived in. And I think that we've lived in 7. So the point is, every space you live in will be totally different. And my home is way different than yours and the next person's. But you can create these kind of spaces in any space that you occupy. It's like real life Tetris for grown-ups. So let me show you. All right, I'm going to walk with you into my kitchen. This first is our dining room, and it is also a pretty small space. It's probably like 10, maybe by 8. So I've had to be pretty conniving, again, real life Tetris, regarding how I fit us in here. All 12 of us eat in this room, and this leads into our kitchen. So the point here is that our kitchen is not huge. It's on the small side. There's not a lot of cabinet or counter space. So organizing your kitchen means that you are making your kitchen functional, right? You want to be able to cook with an infant in a carrier, a toddler or 2 on a counter, under duress and stress with all kind of other things going on, and you want to be able to cook super efficiently and quickly. So the 3 most important things to keep in mind are organizing, purging, and planning your space. So organize it really, really well. Purge. Be ruthless in giving away, and getting rid of everything that you don't need. And as Americans, we're not very good at this. And then planning your space pretty intentionally, keeping in mind what you do in your space and how you need it to function for you. Organize, plan, and purge, purge, purge. So to explain some of these places to you, I call this my pot closet, and this is thinking outside of the box. This was a pantry, I assume, when we moved in here. maybe use a pantry for things, not just food. This can free up cabinets, as this specific to this pot closet. I can see everything that I have. Every single thing I need is easy to get. No more hunting around in cabinets for a pot and its matching lid, which will drive you insane. And I also have electric in this closet, so after I assemble the meal in my kitchen, then I let it cook right there in the Instapot, which also frees up counter space. I call these my produce drawers here, and they are filled with produce. So I have apples in the top drawer and avocados in the next, and onions and garlic in the bottom. And these each hold a lot. Like, I mean, this is, I don't know, 9 to 12 pounds of apples, probably 30 avocados, lots of onions and garlic in the bottom. The top here, I'm running a little low on squash, but I can fit loads and loads of squash here. I put all my sweet potatoes there, but we ate them all. And then potatoes fit in these bottom two. And I can fit lots in each of these places. And this has been wonderful because I can keep more produce than I would if I were storing it on the counter. And then obviously I also free up tons of counter space, and the produce keeps a lot longer in these drawers. In making this kitchen and this smaller space fit our needs, I've had to be, again, pretty ruthless in what I decide to keep or not keep. This cabinet holds all of the dishes that I have. I do have mugs in another cabinet, but this is all of my plates. These are all of my plates and all of my bowls and all of my cups. I'm not quite sure why I had 6 different sets of dishes. I looked at my cups one day and wondered why none of them stack and why I had an entire bottom shelf filled with cups. So I've tried to be more intentional about what I purchase. So we over time donated or gave away everything that we had, and then bit by bit I just repurchased things, and intentionally. So these cups are metal, they don't break, children, and they stack, so I can keep a lot of them in one small little space. Corelle ware is not only insanely durable, but it's very low profile, and so you can put, I think, I don't know, I have 20 plates here maybe, and look, in the space that 4 conventional plates take, I can fit, I don't know, 10 Corelle plates there. You don't need 47 different Tupperwares and circles and squares and ovals. So in time, I've just bought and replaced my food storage. So I have, glass containers, but they're all rectangles. And so they nest together really well. Cooking in my kitchen means that I'm usually standing right about there, and I have at least 1 or 2 or 3 toddlers on my counter. And so I've tried to make this space very functional for me. It bothers me to be going all over the kitchen, grabbing and gathering things that I need as I bake or as I cook. So I call this my cooking cabinet. And this is pretty much all of the supplies that I use to cook, be it baking or cooking. And my goal here was, for instance, if I have a baby in a carrier on my chest, I want to be able to reach things with one hand, right? So I can reach in here and grab my large measuring cup, or I can grab my tablespoons or my teaspoons. I have my measuring cups right here. If I'm cooking a recipe that requires quite a bit of measuring, I have extras up here, or I can spin this and I can get to my funnel. And I wanted to be able to reach everything with one hand and not have to pull anything out to get to something else, especially if I'm cooking with a child. So young mamas, if you want to get meals prepped with a baby on your front, this may be something to think about. And I tried to be pretty intentional in how I organized this stuff in my space. So this is, organization and planning. If I am cooking with a child on the counter right here, I can leave this door open and still get everything I need out of the cabinet while I cook, which has been pretty tremendously helpful. Something else that speaks to the need to plan and organize your space well, have your utensils out, both for eating and for cooking. I keep my knives right here on a magnetic strip, as I'm usually standing here chopping at this counter. And then I keep all of my other cooking utensils, spatula, spoons, tongs out. I want to be able to grab exactly the tool that I need as I'm cooking. I also have this Lazy Susan with my most often used vinegars or oils, things. I don't want to have to be fishing those out of a cabinet. Same thing for spices. They do not actually have to live standing up in a cabinet. You can lie them down and they'll be happy little spices, and you can see exactly what you have. So I have 2 drawers of these spices. And then in the bottom, I keep all of my dry goods for baking. Sugar, for instance. And this is lovely because this is spill proof, because spilling your sugar as you bake will ruin your day quickly. So again, especially baking with children, this is a nice handy container, and I can reach in and grab it and reach in and put it back with ease. So I keep my brown sugar, baking powder, baking soda, etc., all kind of at the ready. Messes. Be prepared to handle messes quickly. How I've addressed this, I keep in this cabinet this large bin full of cloths, and I use a different cloth pretty much for every spill that I clean up. And you can have dozens of cloths in your washing machine and it takes up virtually no space. And I also keep just a spray bottle of vinegar here. So I have a spill, I spray it with vinegar, I wipe it up with a cloth, and I put the cloth in that bin, and then I just wash them all. And again, I can fit dozens and dozens of cloths here, and they take up less than probably a quarter of my washing machine. And then you're also not rinsing out that dishcloth every time you wipe up a spill, and you're also not smearing nasty stuff all around your counters. Lastly, make your kitchen a pleasant place to be. You don't want a bunch of tomfoolery in there, right? Because that doesn't go along with our purging idea. But just a few nice things, maybe a lamp, a candle, a plant. Make your kitchen feel nice, somewhere that you want to be, somewhere that looks pleasant. What kind of impression does your kitchen have upon the people who enter into it? So all of these systems that you have created to function for you are directly related to your meal prep and to your food preparation, which can be the crazy part, the crazy making part, if you don't have these good systems. And so nutritious food seems a little intimidating. I mean, I think that we all ideally want to be making the best food that we can be, but there is this idea, and it is true in large part, that nutritious food does take more time to prepare. That is the case. I'd say that's a reality. An admirable goal is to make the best food you can make in the least amount of time that you can make it. So I've turned this into kind of an Olympic sport. I, for instance, make all of our bread homemade, which is not nearly as impressive as you think. I have found this amazing recipe from this gentleman named Steve on YouTube, who has changed our entire world. It's this fantastic recipe, and it's almost cheating. It's so easy. So I make all of our bread from scratch that way. Smoothies. I make all of our own kefir or yogurt and our berry smoothies, and this has about driven me to madness over the years. I've had blenders blowing up and smoothie all over the place. But don't give up. Create the perfect plan. And so now I can crank out a smoothie in no time at all with minimal kitchen disasters. Bone broth. We all know the buzzword that bone broth is, and like the health benefits of bone broth, but it's awful when you are making a batch of it and you spill it all over your floor. It's like this gelatinous mass that never comes off, this gelatinous kind of glob that never comes off. So these 3 things, homemade bread, smoothies, bone broth, for instance, just taking these 3 things as an example, find ways to make these things really well with a great system that kind of functions for you. And so that's what we'll do in our next video, is I will talk a bit about those 3 specific things and use them to kind of typify an organized food making process.